Welcome. My name is T. Stock, and I'm joined by Carol Myers and Camille Coe, and we are members of OTs for Environmental Action, or OTEA. And this presentation will address the vital role that OT practitioners play in sustainable practices that improve the environment and climate outcomes. And we just want to mention there are three other people who helped develop this presentation: Carol Dennis, Amy Sadek, and Kelly DeMarco. Our learning objectives today are to examine the impact of climate change on human health and identify the relationships between sustainability and occupational therapy practice. And secondly, to explore implications for OT practice and education through an OT justice lens using examples and case studies. We have a quote that is meaningful to us as we explore the occupational therapy role with regard to environmental action. And this is a quote by Wendell Berry. "We do not inherit the earth from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children." Please take 2 to 3 minutes to reflect on these questions, and at the end of our presentation, circle back to your reflection. How well do you feel like you understand what climate change means? What feelings and emotions surface when you think about climate change? When it comes to doing more, where do you feel like you are stuck? And what is your vision for a thriving planet, and what role do you play in creating it? We will now go through OTEA's mission, vision, and values. OTs for Environmental Action was started by a small group of OT practitioners and students in 2021 to explore the intersection between OT and climate change and promoting sustainability within the scope of OT practice. OTEA strives to plant the seeds of hope and empowerment in addressing the urgent topic of climate change. We understand that the worst effects of climate change fall on the most vulnerable populations, who are the least responsible for its devastating impacts. Vulnerable populations have limited access to resources for adaptation and will continue to be the most at risk. OTEA continues to grow as OT practitioners and students understand the impact of occupational choices and lifestyles on planetary health and feel empowered to act.
We will now discuss our guiding documents and key definitions relating to OT and climate change. The WFOT Guiding Principles is a resource for supporting education, practice, policy, and research focusing on environmental, eco-sustainability, meaningful occupational participation, health, and well-being. The intention of the WFOT is the promotion of sustainability as pertinent to the OT scope of practice. The WFOT position statement on environmental sustainability and sustainable practice describes how current global challenges provide compelling reasons why OTPs should engage in sustainable environmental practice. The Sustainable Development Goals, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. The Earth Charter is a document with 16 principles powering a global movement. The Earth Charter enunciates the values and principles by which sustainable development can be achieved. When you apply it to your business, school, or community, you can begin turning conscience into action to make all life on Earth thrive. The AOTA position statement on occupational therapy and climate change addresses the occupational needs of future generations and marginalized communities' ability to adapt to the harmful health impacts of climate change through education, practice, research, policy, and advocacy. The OTPF has sections that can relate to climate and environment, which we will speak to later on. The OT Code of Ethics provides core values and ethical behavior and delineates ethical principles and standards of conduct, which include beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, justice, veracity, and fidelity. We are sharing this visual of the 5 guiding principles for sustainable OT practice, summarized by the UK Centre for Sustainable Healthcare. This is adapted from the WFOT Sustainability Matters guidelines. Sustainable practices in our profession enable us to choose and engage in healthy and meaningful occupations without endangering access to resources that allow others to participate in meaningful occupations. We also have the responsibility to preserve the planet for future generations. Occupational outcomes of justice are occupational rights, including access, meaning, participation, choice, and balance. The World Federation of Occupational Therapists defines occupational justice as the fulfillment of the right for all people to engage in the occupations they need to survive, define as meaningful, and that contribute positively to their own well-being and the well-being of their communities. I will now go over some key terms. Occupational deprivation. Examples of factors contributing to occupational deprivation include poverty, discrimination, lack of access, the COVID-19 pandemic, institutional policies, incarceration, disability, and stigma. Examples of factors contributing to occupational disruption include natural disasters, armed conflict, migration, the COVID-19 pandemic, and illness. Displaced persons have to essentially reconstruct their lives in unfamiliar sociocultural contexts that are dramatically different from their home countries. New ways of performing familiar occupations have to be relearned while negotiating their place in the new context. Eco-grief can be manifested in 3 major ways: grief associated with physical, ecological, biodiversity losses, the loss of environmental knowledge, and grief associated with anticipated future losses. Eco-grief encompasses the pain we experience when acknowledging the loss of our natural world, and for many, our home.
As one of the major challenges of our time, climate change impacts all aspects of our health, well-being, and quality of life. The next 2 slides will have some quotes discussing the unique impact that occupations have on climate change. Human occupations include how we live, the products we use every day, and the modes of transportation. The major human occupations contributing to climate change include burning fossil fuels, deforestation, dumping waste in landfills, agriculture, population growth, transportation, industrial processes, and livestock. However, our individual and collective habits of overconsuming our finite natural resources are a major contributor to climate change. Health management in our OTPF is defined as activities related to developing, managing, and maintaining health and wellness routines, including self-management with the goal of improving or maintaining health to support participation in other occupations. Habits and routines include, are we making choices every day that are sustainable or not? For instance, the length of our shower, types of products we use, what types of food are we eating? Routines, is physical activity embedded in our routine? Is social connection? Or is one of our routines shopping for the newest and latest? For roles are shaped by our cultures and contexts. They influence how we spend our time. Think of your role as a practitioner in the burnout from productivity, or as a student trying to juggle a job and school. Population health is health equity. We have the language in our framework that warrants our attention and work in this area. Environmental considerations include barriers versus support. Environments can be disabling. While we are reading these case studies, think of ways to implement an idea or two into your own practice. It is important to note that when you're making changes in your own practice, they don't always have to be big changes at first. The small changes can add up as well. So Ron, him, is a home health occupational therapy practitioner who utilizes resources from clients' homes and thrift shops. He posts home exercise programs, modification recommendations, and loans closets online. Many of his clients have chronic diseases requiring lifestyle modifications for diet, smoking cessation, physical activity, sleep, and stress reduction. Ron incorporates gardening in sessions for increased physical activity, family engagement, stress reduction, and improved sleep quality. Through meal planning and preparation, Ron addresses ways to reduce food waste and costs while emphasizing the health and ecological benefits of a plant-based diet. Ron advocates for sustainable practices by providing resources to other practitioners in his agency.
Jan, them, is a certified occupational therapy assistant in an inpatient psychiatric hospital. Jan wears thrifted clothing, rides their bike to work, and supports small businesses in their area. Jan engages residents in a hospital-based whole food and bee pollinator garden, watering plants around the facility and nature walks early in the morning to maximize light exposure. Jan advocates for change at a macro level by reducing material waste and organizing food donations from the community garden. Jan is a member of the organization Global Climate and Health Alliance.
Shauna is our example from pediatrics. Her is an OT practitioner in an elementary school. She shops at thrift and local businesses, drives a used hybrid car, and participates in her town's green initiative. Shauna engages year-round and regular school year students in the planning and taking care of an herb and vegetable garden, watering and weeding the plants and harvesting them when ready. She helps the school to host a seasonal veggie herb weekly sale. Shauna incorporates reduce, recycle, and reuse awareness in her whole class sessions and with individual students. She advocates for change at a higher level by proposing methods for the school to recycle and reduce, reuse in the cafeteria.
As one of the major challenges of our time, climate change impacts all aspects of our health, well-being, and quality of life. Many of the negative effects of the environment on human health are exacerbated by climate change. This chart provides a great visual illustration of how climate change specifically can impact human health and how some populations are particularly vulnerable to climate change. Climate change is increasing environmental health risks throughout the world, causing extreme weather events such as drought, flooding, more frequent hurricanes, and human injury, increased heat stress and reduced air quality. Rising temperatures lengthen the season and the range of disease-carrying insects and the spread of transmittable diseases. Increases in chronic illnesses due to global warming have also been noted. The effects of climate change are disproportionately borne by vulnerable populations. People with disabilities and senior citizens are often overlooked or completely disregarded during emergency preparedness, rescue, and recovery due to exclusion during planning, inaccessible transportation, and shelters. Indirect effects of climate change on health include food and water vulnerability, loss of employment, displacement, and migration, leading to a decrease in social, economic, and environmental support. These stressors can cause increased mental health problems such as depression and anxiety.
As one of the major challenges of our time, climate change impacts all aspects of our health, well-being, and quality of life. Why should OT practitioners care? As an occupation-based profession, we have an ethical responsibility to support our clients, whether they're individuals, groups, or populations, to achieve optimal health, quality of life, and well-being. Climate change is one of the major challenges impacting quality of life and the mental, physical, social, spiritual, and economic well-being of those individuals, groups, and populations on a global level. Climate change exacerbates occupational injustice and deprivation for present and future generations, while threatening participation in meaningful, culturally relevant, and ecologically sustainable occupations. Engagement in human occupation influences the sustainability of the natural environment, and changes to human behavior can have a positive impact on the environment. As you can see, occupational justice requires that we're aware of how the occupations of an individual, community, and population can impact others' well-being. If we are not promoting sustainable lifestyles and occupations, this can help create occupational injustice. It's pertinent that one of the requirements specifically mentions recognizing that with choice comes responsibility for other people, life forms, and the planet. The central purpose of the Participatory Occupational Justice Framework, or POJF, is to facilitate social inclusion by raising awareness of and addressing occupational injustices.
Next, we will be moving on to discuss implications for OT education and practice. We can help individuals recognize how making sustainable decisions with their occupations can have an impact on their health and the health of others. We need to start teaching about sustainability and occupational justice in OT programs. We can provide examples of how students can advocate for sustainability practices with individuals, workplaces, the community, and environments. We should discuss the 3 pillars of sustainability: social, economic, and environmental. Faculty can introduce the Participatory Occupational Justice Framework as a tool for change and teach about health effects and occupational injustices related to climate change. Include the CAWA model in your teaching. You can even use this PowerPoint as part of your education program. Remember that this doesn't just affect one generation, but all generations. We can benefit from everyone working together. As environmentally aware OTPs, we can help make an impact by recognizing areas of environmental and climate impact and how they may affect occupation. We can work to support policies, legislation, and actions that allow people to engage in positive occupations with purpose and meaning. We can empower our clients, whether individual, group, or populations, to lessen occupational behaviors that are negatively impacting the environment and the climate and promote occupational behaviors with positive impacts. There is a great list on the OTEA website on what we can do as OT practitioners to promote sustainability. These are just a few easy ways to get more involved. The WFOT document provides background information on how to be more aware of and promote and advocate for sustainability. It also includes helpful reflective questions to guide your thinking when incorporating sustainability into your practice. An example of providing interventions for people participating in nature could be something as simple as walking outside to promote functional mobility. When someone walks or cycles to get around, that not only benefits the environment, but can have positive effects on the person physically and mentally. For using materials, if one has extra splinting materials, instead of just throwing them away, really try and think of if there's anything else you can use them for, especially if there are larger pieces. When helping people with durable medical equipment, determine if they can rent or borrow from a friend or neighbor. Donate after use. Some cities may even have durable medical equipment exchanges. As with anything, people are much more willing to change if we come from a place of compassion. Some further ways to promote sustainability in the work environment include, for your ADL kitchen, provide washable utensils, dishware, or compostable products. While doing meal preparation, try and reduce the food waste. An example of reusing single-use items includes washing plastic sandwich bags. We can also advocate for training on sustainable practices for those who have the resources. Purchasing items from the thrift store for the clinic can decrease waste. You can also start, lead, or participate in a green or sustainability team. For people working in education, you can provide tests online instead of on paper. You can educate others on the OT role in advocating for occupational justice, sustainability, and climate change. You can also explore research related to OT and sustainability, and consider sustainability principles when teaching activity analysis. As occupational therapy practitioners, we don't just focus on individuals, but on groups and populations as well, as mentioned in the OTPF. Here are just a few ideas on how to get involved in the community. For community gardens, they can help provide food security, build and empower communities, foster social and environmental justice. They can also help with therapeutic healing. They provide a green space, and they can even reduce crime. You can also sign up for a TED Talk to spread the word about how to be better stewards of the environment. As occupational therapy practitioners, we have a unique perspective to bring to the table. You can look up local TEDx events and contact the person in charge. You can also advocate for public transportation, which leads to less emissions and provides access for all people to jobs and other needed services such as medical appointments and grocery stores. Becoming more involved in voting and with local government officials to advocate for these needed services can be helpful as well. Positive infrastructure changes could also involve having more green spaces, better universal design, and accessibility for all. Voices for Public Transportation has ways to stay involved in your local community. Look at your local planning and zoning commissions and attend meetings to get more involved. We can also advocate for age-friendly cities. The Age-Friendly World has some great resources to get you started, including templates and examples from around the world. Once again, reaching out to local governments to advocate for the importance of sustainability. Bring information about and evidence of the importance of sustainability and how it impacts the community and the world. The last link leads to a document from the Climate Reality Project and discusses how people with disabilities are uniquely impacted by climate change and ways to advocate for them through the government. So in our own lives as occupational therapy practitioners, we need to be an example in what we do. So when it comes to food, trying to limit or eliminating animal products that we're using or eating, limiting our shopping, reducing food waste and packaging, and also limiting plastic and disposable use are ways that we can be an example. For transportation, we can try walking, biking, skateboarding, using rideshare or public transit, purchase and use electric cars, and reduce the flights we are taking. For reusing, recycling, and repurposing, can we buy used clothes and furniture? Are we composting? Are we trying to reduce our paper use or using rechargeable batteries? We can also volunteer, whether it be on a farm or for environmental causes or committees, etc. For energy consumption, we can actually try getting some free energy assessments, looking at air drying our clothes, reducing water consumption, using LED and other efficient light bulbs, using energy efficient appliances, and if possible, using solar. We can also write or share blogs, editorials on how to make a difference with sustainability.
Now we are moving on to discuss resources. The OTEA authors compiled the following resources. If you download the PowerPoint from the OTEA website, you should be able to click on the links and it will take you to the websites. These are great resources, but to name just a few. The Buy Nothing Project is an app you can download to get involved in the gift economy where everything is free. You can post one of three things: gifts, services you offer, asks, services you may need, and gratitudes to show appreciation and thanks. The Sustainable Living Facebook group is a diverse group of individuals passionate about making a positive impact on the planet. Cool Choices is a nonprofit organization that works with businesses and communities to inspire citizens, employees, customers, students, and other stakeholders to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. They have free webinars that you can review to learn more about helping decrease greenhouse gas emissions. Project Drawdown's mission is to help the world stop climate change as quickly, safely, and equitably as possible by advancing effective science-based climate solutions and strategies through bold new climate leadership, new climate narratives, and new voices. Project Regeneration is a radically new approach to the climate crisis that integrates justice, climate, biodiversity, and human dignity into action, policy, and transformation, ending the climate crisis in one generation. The Environmental Working Group is an organization that provides research to help us make informed choices on everything from personal care and cleaning products, and helps shine a spotlight on outdated legislation, harmful agricultural practices, and industry loopholes that pose a risk to our health and the health of our environment. These are all great resources, but to name just a few. Planetary Health Alliance is a transdisciplinary field and social movement focused on analyzing and addressing the impacts of human disruptions to the Earth's natural systems on human health and all life on Earth. Environmental Toxin Nerd Laura Adler is a holistic health coach providing health education to healthcare professionals and consulting to businesses on the role of environmental toxins in contributing to chronic health conditions. Health in Harmony is an international nonprofit dedicated to reversing global heating and understanding that rainforests are essential for the survival of humanity. Using the innovative process of radical listening, they collaborate with the experts, rainforest communities, to create the change the planet needs. Plateful Health, Dr. Vivian Chen is a UK medical doctor and founder of an online integrative health wellness community focused on education about the root causes of chronic health challenges, including nutrition, lifestyle medicine, gut health, and environmental toxins. The Lazy Person's Guide to Saving the World is a guide from the UN and provides easily implemented actions that individuals can take to lower their carbon footprint. And the Energy Saver website contains information on how to decrease our energy consumption, how much electricity our appliances need, design tips for your home to increase energy efficiency, purchasing energy efficient appliances, and renewable energy sources. These are some good resources to read or view for people that are more interested in diverse views on the importance of sustainability. The first video outlines some simple ways to get more involved on a community level to address labor trafficking as it relates to climate change. The second video outlines how to create more sustainable agriculture and has a great example from the speaker's own family. The third video discusses compelling information on how pollution impacts the health of our bodies and our minds and can even cross through the placenta membrane to impact unborn children. The fourth video shows how climate change is impacting refugees around the world, and the fifth shares personal stories of climate refugees in the United States. Robin Wall-Kimmerer wrote Braiding Sweetgrass. She is a member of the Potawatomi Nation and botanist, discussing getting back to our roots and paying attention to the lessons that nature teaches us and to nature in general. Last Child in the Woods, Richard Louv, provides research discussing how direct exposure to nature is essential for healthy childhood development and the physical and emotional health of children and adults. Occupational Therapy Without Borders is written by over 150 authors globally about the social and political aspects of occupation. This chapter addresses climate change in the 6th edition of the Model of Human Occupation. It gives examples of how climate and other physical environment qualities affect people's occupations and choices, and how people with health conditions or disabilities are more likely to be negatively affected as it is more difficult to relocate, have the funds to remediate environmental challenges like excessive heat or flooding, and more. A few case examples are included. And these are some useful resources for working with pediatric clients and their caregiver. Student tools for emergency planning, disaster preparedness activities, wetlands coloring book, DWAME, the Storm Drain activity book.
Next, we'll be moving on to reflections and personal action plan. Please take a few minutes to use these questions to reflect on your personal action plan and think about the resources that we just mentioned. So first, how likely are you to implement any of the strategies discussed in this PowerPoint in your current practice? What is the first next step towards sustainability that you could commit to? What is a time frame to give yourself to accomplish the first next step towards sustainability? And finally, do you have an accountability partner in mind as you work towards your goals? In the words of Robin Wall Kimmerer, as we work to heal the earth heals us. We want to thank you for attending this presentation online, and we hope that you'll feel empowered to make a difference. Next, we're just going to quickly show the references in case anyone would like to see the references used for this PowerPoint.